Hello, everybody, and welcome to beautiful Montreal, Quebec, Canada for this second edition of Le Grand Prix Cycliste de Montreal. Randy Ferguson with Gord Fraser once again with you for the color commentary and the play-by-play of this beautiful event in Montreal on this world-renowned course. However, Gord, last year, during the first edition, I don't think we got the full potential. We felt the full potential of this race course that was used for the Montreal Olympics and also the World Championships in 1974. An early, inconsequential break left, not much pressure put on the main peloton. However, this year with our star-studded lineup, I think it's going to be very different.
Yeah, I think this year we're going to see a little bit more aggressive racing. I think look for a bigger early breakaway to put the peloton under a little bit more pressure, and look for the usual suspects to come to the front the last couple laps. Most notably, I think Edvald Boasson-Hagen. Last year he was in that elite selection chasing Haysink, and he crashed, unfortunately, in the last U-turn. So look for him for some redemption. We also have Pierre Rolland, kind of the revelation of the Tour de France, along with his teammate Vauclair on Europe car. You know, he won a stage on the Alpe d'Huez. He won the white jersey as best young rider. So this could be a course that suits his abilities as well. Olympic champion Samuel Sanchez, you saw him as well make that elite selection chasing Haysink last year. Look to him to take another step up and hopefully play for the win. But I think your favorite is a Dutch rider.
Yeah, well, our Dutch rider, Robert Jessink. And let's go to a clip that we have of him talking about his performance last year and what he had to do to stay away from some of those top protagonists this year.
I think the attack was at the right time. Of course, it was the most difficult part in the race, I think. Yeah, when I was riding there, I just thought this is my only chance to keep on going, of course. Later, when I saw the images back, then I thought, okay, this was really close. It was closer than I was thinking at that time. The biggest chance is the last two laps. I mean, normally in races like this, yeah, it really happens in the last few laps.
So talking about there was Jessink about this course, this very hard course, which we'll actually go see right away. I went and I visited some of the hot spots on this course here in Montreal. We are here at the start line of the Grand Prix Cycliste de Montreal. This is where the adventure starts for the riders, 205.7 kilometers. They will go up Avenue du Parc here, then 17 climbs of La Côte Polytechnique, and just prior to that, the mythic ascension of La Voie Camillien-Houde. When we talk about the course in Montreal, it's climb, 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 Camillien-Houde. Two main spots on this climb. The first one right down here where we saw Kevin Lacombe. We also saw Chris Horner and ultimately Robert Jessink attack on the last lap. A slow gradient pitch here as we get to the second little portion of the climb, which is the canyon, and we saw Robert Jessink once again put his accelerator on, and we all know what happened after that. After the climb up Camillien-Houde, it is now 4 kilometers of descent. This is where riders will recuperate first of all, and also try to bridge up to brakes and even to the pack. Two 90-degree turns, very important to watch out for. Gatineau de Maréchal and Maréchal de Dessel, then the second climb of this Montreal course. This is hot spot number 2, halfway into the 12.1 kilometer loop. This is a 2-section climb. First of all, the very tight and steep first portion. A false flat follows, and the last 200 meters, 11% gradient. This is where the last-ditch attempt was made by Sagan, Sanchez, and Hesjedal when they turned here only 5 seconds behind Robert Jessink. Hot spot number 3, we come down La Côte de la Polytechnique and leave the campus of the University of Montreal. This is where the true classic specialists will show their stuff. They will either bridge up to a rider or a group of riders along this long flat on Edouard Montpetit, or gain time if they are in the lead. From this point on, it's a little voyage through the borough of Outremont, of Vincent d'Indy, down the long but slow descent on Chemin de la Côte Sainte-Catherine, which brings us right back into the arena of the start-finish line and hotspot number 4. This is the last hotspot of the day, but not the least. The riders will be coming in here very tired. The last portion of Avenue du Parc, then the 2 last difficulties. First of all, this 180-degree turn where last year Edvald Boasson-Hagen crashed. Then it's not over, folks. 560 meters, 4% gradient. This is where rider Hesjedal, struggling at the end, was passed by Peter Sagan for the second spot on the podium. And one last race note before we go. A reminder, the Grand Prix Cycliste de Montreal has the same altitude gain as a stage in the mountains at the Tour de France. We're talking about 13,000 feet, 4,000 meters, a very hard day at the office for the riders here in Montreal. So there we go, Gord. That is the lay of the land for this very difficult, world-renowned course in Montreal. We have a star-studded marquee lineup, and let's go right away to racing here in Montreal. Second edition of Le Grand Prix Cycliste de Montréal. Well, there we go with 105 kilometers to go, and now looking at the back of the group, 165 there for AG2R La Mondiale is the French rider Blaise Cadry. And like a lot of riders today, Gord, he is struggling up this climb once again of Chemin Camillien-Houde.
Yeah, certainly the tempo now is quite strong by the Rabobank and the Sky team, obviously in defense or in working for Bossenhagen and Hastings. So some pretty stiff tempo now in the main field.
There we are. Right away we see the images of the riders from Rabobank. Sky also very present in there right off the front as Sergei Ivanov, winner of a Tour de France stage right there on the right hand side, winning a Tour de France stage in 01, 09, and also 6-time Russian champion. It looked like nature was a calling there.
Yeah, it certainly Katusha have one of their big name riders in the breakaway, Danilo De Luca, showing some great form. It looks like he's one of the strongest riders in the breakaway, taking most of the points on the King of the Mountains. But boy, it took a long time for that break to get established today, Randy.
Oh yeah, very much so, and we'll have our recap of our first few hours of racing very soon. Schmidt, the rider from Liquigas, originally in the hunt for that Grand Prix of the Mountain, King of the Mountain title, but right now he is not there as we see the latest standings now. Danilo De Luca has 11 points. Schmidt still has 6 because of that earlier adventure. Danny Pate now picking up 5, the American, the Pate, as he is known amongst the riders here in the peloton. Sam Sanchez, a rider who we thought we'd see a bit more of this year. However, in Quebec City a couple of days ago, struggling, dealing with cramps, pains, and now is still straggling off the back there. It'll be very interesting to see what he can do today. Olympic champ in Beijing. And once again back with these riders with just under 9 laps of 17 to go. It is a total distance for them today of 205.7 kilometers, 17 laps. We've added 1 lap, which will come into play definitely here today, Gord, 12.1 kilometers a lap. So Sanchez sitting comfortable right now, just pacing himself. He knows that he still has a long way to go, over half of the race still to complete. The fans are once again very numerous here on Camillien-Houde. This is the flatter portion we talked about earlier on in our intro. And going right into what they traditionally call the canyon here is that dynamited part of Chemin Camillien-Houde. That is the last little kick, as we say, of this climb. That is in total 1.8 kilometers only, but 8.5% average grade here.
Yeah, pretty stiff test for these riders here in Montreal. As we see Rabobank and Sky sharing the workload to control this gap, which maximum advantage was around 6 minutes. They got most of that gap when we had the big crash, unfortunate, with our Quebec rider Dominique Rollin. We haven't seen Dominique regain his bike or the peloton, so we're assuming he's out of the race at this point. Also involved in that crash is top favorite Philippe Gilbert, and he took a little while to get back on his bike and looking okay now. He's flexing his hand quite a bit. I think he might have injured his hand. He ripped his glove and he had to take it off. So we'll see if that opens the door for anyone, because certainly the way Gilbert's going, I don't think anyone has really a chance against him if it comes down to the end. So reason for optimism for the rest of the peloton, although through some unfortunate circumstances.
And that is the King of the Mountain, GPM, standing for Grand Prix de la Montagne in French. And they are continuing to gain points here. Looking down onto Old Montreal, just on the other side of the mountain here. A historical part of this country, province. And one of the first settlements in 1642 by Samuel de Champlain and Monsieur Maisonneuve. Once again, the founders of Quebec City and Montreal. This is our recap from earlier on. Our start, we had 173 yes riders at the start, and very early on a break, which Gord had the strength of being a good break on this day. However, the group not really working together, but as you can see, they still had a good lead, almost half the portion of this race. Then the Canadian champion Swain Tuft, as he was trying to bridge up here, not a very good timing for him, falling in that very dangerous 180-degree hairpin turn.
Yeah, we saw Boston Hagen fall victim there, and there's the crash with Gilbert and Dominique Rollin holding his head. Hopefully he didn't hurt himself. Gilbert would remount and get back on his bike with the help of his teammates. He's holding his elbow, but he gave the nod to his teammates that he was going to be okay, it looked like, so got to hand it to him. He certainly had an excuse to quit the race, but he's not. He's still in it.
And this is the breakaway that has been away now for a few laps. Danny Pate for HTC, also in that group. Monsieur Gisela, as we say, Gelin, I should say, for Française des Jeux. Also Arachido for Europe Car in the green jersey. And right there is the veteran Danilo De Luca for Team Katusha. They are now on what we call the second climb of this course. This is la Côte de la Polytechnique, and just that little false flat, then a last little kicker, and they will then turn left, go back down through the campus onto Edouard Montpetit on the second descent portion against, along I should say, Edouard Montpetit and Chemin de la Côte Sainte-Catherine. And in the meantime, here is the peloton closing in. The gap we now have is 3:52, so that has gone up about 20 seconds, Gord.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a game of cat and mouse. The break is seeing how strong they need to be to maintain a certain gap, so they let off the gas, and they're kind of bluffing the peloton here. But there's only been 2 riders so far, Christian Nies of Sky and Van Imden of Rabobank setting the tempo. Queuing up behind there was Luca Gas and Katusha as well, so wondering if they're going to get some help. But certainly the break, they're settling into a nice rhythm. They're sharing the workload. Obviously, De Luca seems to be the strongest in the breakaway, at least on the climb, and he's been profiting and getting the king of the mountain points. So what we haven't seen, though, Randy, is just how hard this race started out and how long it took for the break to establish itself. As we see Dominique Rollin there with some bandages and some dirty shorts from his crash. It looked like he hit his face a little bit, so really unfortunate. He had a great race in Quebec City, finishing in the top 25. I know he was motivated to do a good race here today in front of the home public, Randy.
Yeah, definitely. Dominique coming from the south shore of Montreal, from Boucherville, right on the other side of the St. Lawrence River. And unfortunately here, Mr. De Luca is probably going to have to wait for another lap or maybe a generous handout. Oh, no.
Butterfingers there.
Yes, yeah, that wasn't very good.
Well, De Luca, I mean, he should have the team car behind him as well, so there's nothing big if he misses a feed here.
We'll be right back, folks, after this first commercial break. Here we are back with the main group, and this is a tricky little spot here, Gord, as they come down the Chemin de la Côte Sainte-Catherine, and they have 2 90-degree turns on very narrow roads before making it back to the second climb of the day, which is Chemin de la Polytechnique. Right now it's not so bad because the peloton is stretched out somewhat, but if you get in there as a bunch, it can get a bit hairy there on the inside.
Yeah, these guys are seasoned pros. They've dealt with a lot worse. The roads in Belgium and Holland are much more narrow here than in Canada. But stranger things have happened. Like we saw that crash with Gilbert and Rollin. That was on a big, wide, straight stretch of road, and there was really no reason for a crash there. But you know, a moment's inattentiveness and clash of wheels, and down they go, even with a big favorite like Gilbert. So just goes to show these riders always have to kind of have a certain degree of awareness of what's going on around them. But right now they've settled in after a ferocious start to this race. The first 3 laps were unbelievable. And now that the break has established itself, the teams that have decided to control the race, Rabobank and Sky, have sent 2 riders up. It's been the same 2 guys since they've started. Nobody's really gone in to give them any breaks. So just Van Emden and Nies have done a great job keeping this gap in that 3-minute range. But I would imagine if the teams want to bring this back a little closer, they'll have to throw in a few more guys, because these two riders are set with this tempo. I don't think they can ratchet it up anymore. They've been here for about an hour and a half. It'd be really hard for them to suddenly increase the pace. So they'll need to throw in more guys to bring that gap down.
They're now on La Côte de la Polytechnique, which is, as you mentioned earlier on in the show, 780 meters, 6% average, but there's that one little kicker at the start, 11%, and it could become a very important battlefield today, as we saw last year. Sanchez, Sagan, Ryder really giving a last-ditch effort, because it's really the only, or I should say the last spot on this course before you get to the finish line on that last lap, where if you're going to try to do some serious damage or at least do some bridging up to, pardon the pun, you really got to do it there.
Yeah, nice bridge shot there, well timed. But yeah, I mean, it's the obvious place for a last ditch attack to win this race on the Polytechnique. Obviously, Haysink beat everyone to the punch last year and attacked on Camillien Houde. So he took everyone, I think, a little bit by surprise, but the strength of his attack was just incredible. And the fact that he was able to hold off a really select chase of 6 riders, Montfort, Bossenhagen, Sanchez, Hegedal. I mean, it was a great ride. And Sagan, of course. Great ride by Haysink. We'll see this year where the key place is. It could be Mount Royal or Camillien Houde, or it could be on the Polytechnique or somewhere else. But the most obvious spot, I think, is that Polytechnique, sitting only about 2 or 3K from the finish line. We'll see.
And this descent here, we've discussed it, you and I, many times off air. As they come down this ramp, this doesn't really give you an idea of how steep that ramp is, and this 90-degree curve. This is where a rider who could pull away in on that last climb could do some damage here, because they come down here. You could really motor it. It's a pretty technical and wavy descent. And as we can see here, this will tell the story a bit more, as we see there, number 202, that is for Team Cofidis. That is Buffaz, Buffaz up there with, I think, Simon Dumoulin. Yep, that is him in 201. And then after that, there's this long stretch that takes you back. So you really can use that last climb and that last really steep descent to your advantage.
Dumoulin's been in the cars quite a bit today. I'm wondering if there's any problem with his bike or something of that nature. We saw his handlebars come loose in Quebec, so yes. Hopefully the mechanics have gotten all that straightened out, as the 2 Cofidis riders again using the cars to help get themselves back into the race after some tasks back in the caravan. So maybe a bit of boredom. You know, there's quite a bit of downtime, I suppose, in the race. It's all settled in. The chase is set. The teams are jockeying to see who's going to bring these 4 riders back, as we see Arashiro and Pate having a bit of discussion. I don't know if Pate speaks Japanese or Arashiro speaks Spanish, but or excuse me, English. But here we go. We're going to come up to 7 laps to go.
Yep, 7 laps to go, and hence we'll start the timer here at the start-finish line, and we'll be able to get a better idea on the gap right now at this point. Last read we had was about 340. However, things do change fast as the level here, I should say the climbing and the descending varies a lot all over the course. At one moment you're down a descent and the other ones are climbing, hence you gain some time. Then you're climbing and they're descending, they being the pack, so the time gaps will vary. And here we go, climbing up towards what is the start-finish line. Danilo De Luca still in front there for Katusha, Russian-based team, and Arashiro for Europcar, Continental Pro team out of France. Thomas Vauclair, who I should say wore the yellow jersey once again, an amazing performance, emulating his 2004 performance. Pierre Rolland, another of the teammates, unfortunately popping very early today, was here in Montreal. We thought we'd expect great things from him here in Montreal. It did not happen, and he won also the white jersey in La Duez during the Tour de France. 76 right there for HTC, once again, is the American Danny Pate, and 192 Anthony Gellet from Française des Jeux. So 2 riders for French teams there. 1 rider from the American-based HTC and the Russian team. Very interesting to kind of label those nationalities and those countries, because 5, even 6 years ago, it would have been even hard to say, well, that's not an Italian team, that's not a Spanish team, that's not a Belgian team. Now this is really part of the globalization of sports as teams are setting up in different countries.
Looks like Gilbert's feeling better. He's smiling for the camera, so that answers a few of our questions. Christian Vande Velde had a pretty good ride there in Quebec City in support of Ryder Hesjedal. We'll see if Garmin can come up with the goods here today in Montreal. They're a little playing catch up there in Quebec City, so be good to see Ryder back in the mix for the win here today.
Unfortunately, part of part of that group of teams that is folding after this season. That's very, very disconcerting when we've seen the latest news regarding like mergers of big groups such as Leopard Trek and also Radio Shack Nissan. So one team next year, very few spots for the riders.
I haven't seen any report on where Danny's going to wind up next year. This could be kind of a resume. What better way to put your name out there is to ride very strongly in the breakaway here in Montreal, as we see a Rabobank rider. Hessink certainly hoping to repeat his success from last year, and so far so good for Rabobank. He's got all his teammates. He's only had to ride one rider, one teammate, so he's saving 6 others in support of him later on in the race. So, but again, you know, it's tick-tock, tick-tock. You know, how long are they going to wait to bring this break back?
Well, so we are back on this climb, and things have started to move behind as we have Juan Antonio Flecha for Sky, Danilo Weiss for BMC in red, and attacking just prior to them was Grisha Nirman, who is now fallen back. This is Sky's Juan Antonio Flecha. Time is counted, Gord, for those 4 guys in the lead. We had to expect it. With only 4 more climbs up Camillien Hood, things have started to fall into place.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up now. We had Grisha Nirman of Rabobank setting an attack up. I was thinking it would be for a stepping stone kind of a move to help launch Hastings further up the climb. But Flecha showed really good form in the first few laps. He was very prominent in the opening salvos, so he shows good legs. Danny Luis, more known as a sprinter, is doing well to just cling on to the wheel here of Flecha, who's won a couple stages in the Tour de France. Obviously, the main with Hugenland, main subject to some drama in the Tour with that errant car, but they're quickly bridging the gap. DeLuca seems to know the writings on the wall. The veteran move, he's just going to sit up. He knows his time is done. He's trying to be of service now. He wants to see if he can help any of his Katusha teammates if they're off the front, like these 2 riders, Flecha and Weiss. Weiss we saw at Tour de Beauce a few years ago, winning the opening stage and taking the yellow jersey. So the roads of Quebec have been good to him in the past. Again, he's got his hands full trying to stay on the wheel of Flecha here.
Well, they'll be catching the first rider from the original break. Looking back there is Arashido, and the 33-year-old Spaniard, Juan Antonio Flecha, who is ridden for such teams as iBenesto.com, Fassa Bortolo, Rabobank, and now riding for Team Sky. Is now reached for the sky here for his team. Probably trying to draw some adversaries into this final few laps. And the only one who has really answered here is Danilo Weiss from BMC, and as Gord was mentioning, known more as a sprinter. And as we have the motorbike catch up with Danilo Di Luca also, we show this gradient, and it's a beautiful image. It just goes to show you how so slowly this thing creeps up and up and up.
Great job by Weiss holding on to this wheel. He's in over his head with this climber from Spain on Team Sky, so done well to accrocher, as they say in France, to hold on to that wheel. These riders should expect some fresh legs by the time they reach the top. Danny Pate maybe searching for some more King of the Mountain points, but more importantly, I think they're trying to get to the top before they get caught, so they can profit from the fresh legs and sit on them for the rest of the lap. So we see Ryan Roth there, Canadian rider, looking like he's having trouble holding the wheel. He's signaling to, looks like Sebastian Hinault, or one of the AG2R riders, that he's having some difficulty as DeLuca looking around, seeing if he can be of any help to any Katusha, but I don't see any more Katusha at the front of the race. Michael Barry, too, very, very good at the front here for Team Sky, Canadian boy.
Oh, now we have a rider from Quickstep deciding to take a stab at it.
Pinot.
Again, see her hard to say from this vantage point. A lot of indecision behind. I thought we would see more fireworks at this point. I thought this may have been the last time for these gentlemen in the lead. However, that is not materializing here.
Danny Pate has a little extra in the tank here as he was able to respond to the aggression in behind and keep his gap to get some more King of the Mountain points. But we should be seeing Fletch and Weiss come in pretty soon as the Quickstep rider catches those two, and now they're three. They'll have a good chance to reach the lead three with this new threesome.
So there we go. We have a breakaway now of 3 riders, then a chase group here of 3, which may become a 1, as we see number 154 for Quickstep. That's Jérôme Pinot. You called that one well, Gord.
Pinot won Leuven just a few weeks ago in Belgium. Got to be a little disappointed with this Tour de France after last year being in the King of the Mountain jersey, and as they pass a cyclotouriste of Montreal, shows the speed differential there. But Pinot is in good form. Got to be motivated to do well here in Quebec after a frustrating Tour de France for him. So 3 new riders in pursuit of the original 3 of the original 4 breakaway members here as they go down the Camillien Oud, down the Mont Royal descent. And Randy, you're excited that this has been repaved, aren't you?
Local stomping ground. Very happy to see that. It was very brutal, especially this part of Remembrance. I remember a few years ago emceeing a Women's World Cup that we had here in Montreal, and 3 of the poor girls, they went down. They were going about 70 kilometers an hour and hit a crack in the road here, and it was a very, very bad crash. So there's, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you see, this is always a good time to get your nutrition down on the descent, where your heart rate is dropping. You can coast for some of it if you're in the draft. So very opportune time to keep hydrated, keep the calorie intake coming, because these riders are going to expend anywhere from about 4,000 to 6,000 kilojoules of energy. So that's a lot of calories. So the riders have to keep. As you see in the peloton, you'll see many riders taking drinks and eating. As Michael Barry is looking pretty calm up there. He's got his man Fletcher in the move, and the responsibility of the chase is now off of Team Sky, as they've been on the front all day.
Yeah.
Lighting the race on fire as the 3 guys are inching also closer to this original 3. They're halfway across the gap.
So there we are, 15 seconds between this lead group and the 3 chasers, 34 seconds back to the main group. And once again, Gord, for those that are maybe watching cycling for the first time, we're talking about breakaways, chase groups, pelotons. The breakaway are these 3 gentlemen off the front, chase group, the 3 gentlemen following a few seconds behind. The peloton, the main group, is, as it states, all those riders together. However, what we should specify here is that a good move for those 3 guys in the front would be to let those 3 riders in between maybe join up and create a stronger group at this point in the race?
Well, I think that they cleared the main obstacles. Now they'll get a profit from the new 3. If they get caught on the climb, you know, the legs are a lot different in their energy, so it'll be tough for them to follow the fresh legs on the climb. But now that they've reached a more draftable part of the course, yeah, it could be a tactic to wait for those 3. But you know, at this point, real estate is pretty expensive, so they've invested a lot in where they're at. So they're going to keep their rhythm. That's the most important thing, is they want to keep their rhythm as constant as possible. And if they have those 3 guys come up, that's a lot different rhythm. So whether or not they can withstand the fresh guys, we'll see. But again, Rabobank and Sky looking like they have things well in hand. We'll see how things develop as they come off the descent of the Polytechnique here.
And we're starting really to play games with each other here. We're accelerating, slowing down, left to right on the road. Really testing, I think, who has legs and who has the potential to follow here. But look at that, right down in the drops this is winning, I think, for the Rabobank team. Stetina also for Garmin in there, grabbing a last bit of nutrition before we come up to the end of the race here.
They're going through the feed zone quite a bit faster than all the other laps, so they have to have some quick hands. You see how the way the Rabobank guy actually brings his hand back as it approaches the water bottle, and that slows his hand speed down, so a little better chance to get a good bottle change there. So good job on the Rabobank team, and a little bit of hesitation here. We see some Vacances Soleil guys coming near the front. Hopefully Mercado is back from his mechanical earlier. Gilbert looking around, talking to his teammate. I hope he's not giving him the business as he did in La Presse the other day, but certainly Omega Pharma Lotto's had a free ride so far. They've had to do no work. It just remains to be seen how injury-free Gilbert is from his crash.
Yeah, probably mentioning to his teammate, "Where's my bottle? I have a sore right hand. I cannot grab bottles."
Yeah,
in the feed
that's a
zone."
good point, Randy.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's probably what it was.
Real sharp on the uptake there. That could be very well. He might not be able to take his own bottle in the feed zone because it is quite an impact. So wonder if his hand is tender. But the fact that he's jawing his teammates, that's a good sign that he's feisty and looking like he's full of some fights. So that's good. Good sign for Gilbert fans out there.
He's on the ball, as we see. And there's our chase group of 3. Juan Antonio Flecha from Sky, Denis Luis from BMC in red, and Jérôme Pinot on the back there, still hanging tough. Omega Pharma Lotto now rider taking a trip at the front. Is that Roland's? No, Roland's wearing, we would see his former Belgian champion colors on his sleeve.
Still not very good organization up there. There's a few teams that take some pulls. They're expecting it to be backed up. It looks like a Spire-Tech rider here over on the left. Could that be Swain Tuft? I can't see if that's the Maple Leaf. Yes, it is. That's Canadian road champ Swain Tuft. Obviously another rider who touched the ground earlier this race. He's looking like he's suffering no ill effects, and he wants to provoke a little breakaway here, maybe go across to those 3 riders. But you know, there's Gregor Bollet. He's the Slovenian national champ, 3rd wheel there behind the Sky Rider. So lots of national champs are showing themselves on the screen.
Well, Swain Tuft kind of repeating what he did in Quebec City a couple of days ago, taking a kick at the can at the front, as we say. He has the power. People usually call him the Clydesdale because he just has that brute power of a time trial specialist. However, can fare very well over stage races. But talking about time trial specialists, number 76 there, 2001 Espoir World Time Trial Champion, American Danny Payne.
Yeah, they've been saying that for a long time. Hopefully he can win a big race and they don't have to keep referring to that result. But he won a stage in the Tour of Missouri a few years ago. But you know what's really been incredible for him this year is just his work ethic for the team. I mean, he was crushing it on the front of the Tour de France in those stage races, giving an armchair ride to Cavendish. So very valuable team player, Danny Payne.
That it's once again, I hate to repeat this. It's very sad that HTC is folding this year because they had really worked on the team aspect. May it be the lead out for the sprint, either for Renshaw or for Cavendish. You know, you can name 4 or 5 riders that took a turn there. There's stage strategies, you know, in the stage races and on the one-day classics, really creating a formula. However, once again, hopefully those riders will find a place on the World Tour. Another rider from Omega Pharma Lotto. I think right now Gilbert has told his teammates, let's test this crowd out here and let's see how they can fare. That was 25, the teammate of Mr. Gilbert. That's Klaus Lodvik, Belgian rider.
They're kind of taking option B and provoking a lot of attacks instead of doing some tempo to kind of keep the field together. They're stirring up the action, trying to break off some breakaways and trying to take the pressure off Gilbert, having a guy up the road where Gilbert can go up to and maybe take advantage of some of the work that can be done by a teammate waiting for him further up the road.
Okay, let's go to a break right now.
Danny Pate.
So we'll see how these gentlemen fend off the peloton in the next few minutes. Well, if you don't like the color orange and blue today, you're in for a bad surprise because we're going to be seeing a lot of it, I think, over the next few minutes as another rider from Rabobank is drawing a crowd here. There's a split in the peloton. A rider for Movistar. Is this Faria da Costa? Looks like his style there.
Hasek is going up to his teammate there, about 4th wheel. So yeah, you're right. The Rabobank guys are certainly signaling their intentions as we have the chase group now about to be reabsorbed. Pino, Weiss, Fletcher. We've made it up half the gap, but you got to give credit to that original breakaway. They withstood that onslaught pretty well with Danny Pate and Narashiro and Hele. As DeLuca, his day is done. Showed well in the breakaway, but not enough real estate in between them and the pack today, with Sky and Rabobank doing a lot of work. As again, Rabobank, I think that's Wynet's going around the outside and picking off that chase group. Only 3 guys left in front, as there they are. Pate setting great tempo. You see his earpiece dangling. He doesn't need any instructions from the director. He just put it. He can read a race quite well, Danny. He's got a very high cycling IQ, and as we see again, Rabobank, big tempo here. Fletcher's second wheel looking pretty composed, even after a whole lap off the front. Looks like we have an attack. It looked like a Radio Shack guy.
Yeah, it looked like the colors. Yeah, you're right, Gord, of a Radio Shack rider, maybe Levi Leipheimer. We have not seen or heard from him all day. And yes, we do have some action happening now in the climb. 3 laps to go. Philip Dagnan, once again, the Irish rider, very active in Quebec City. He is back in form in Montreal. Pate, he's just motoring off. No, I don't think it's willful, because the other guys behind have just given up.
Well, he needs those KOM points, so one more win in the KOM might just lock that in for him. So he's not ready to throw in the towel, but oh man, it's still about 500 meters to the top. Can he hold on for this last KOM points for Danny Pate? We'll see. Jeez, where does he find the energy? Incredible.
Amazing performance by the American rider. HTC Columbia, or I should say HTC High Road now, formerly Columbia, doing all he can to garner some more points and take the overall lead in the King of the Mountains competition, because he knows behind things are starting to heat up. And we have a group now of, maybe 15 riders who are just being
led by Danny.
Yep.
Danny kicks again. This is his finish line. This King of the Mountain. Don't get me wrong. He's had a great ride, but he's only thinking about these KOM points. But what a great job! My former teammate, actually, on HealthNet in 2004.
Veteran of the course now, number 94 here. That is a Saxo Bank Sungard's Mikhail Morkov, winner of the Sprint Challenge in Quebec City.
It was asking a lot. It was asking a lot for Morkov to withstand this course, but again, Pate, can't say enough. Great ride as Pavel Brut, Russian champ, goes out the back.
Hurt. You can just feel the pain right now of these riders, and they're not just dropping off from attrition, they're dropping off because the speed has picked up.
Oh, got to be about 100 meters to the KOM. Can he withstand? Now it's the Tendam on the front here. The bearded rider for Rabobank showed well in the Tour de France.
They're coming up to the top of the climb here, just squeaking in here. Garnering some more points will be Danny Pate for the King of the Mountains. Pate doing a beautiful job here.
He's done. He's like, oh, catch me now, please.
I can take a break now.
Amazing.
Who has put the flasher on? This is number 154, Jérôme Pinot, and he's just going to put himself
and Weiss as well.
Number 68, Danilo Weiss.
Yes. That just goes to show the price these riders pay for firing a bullet off and going after a breakaway. They pay a heavy price.
Well, let's see the result of this final effort by Pate on the other side of our commercial break on Sportsnet. Definitely so, and once again, he's tried to move off the front, but it's not really going anywhere, unfortunately, for the Canadian champ.
A couple riders forming a little chase group, so hopefully they can get together and create our new breakaway as Danny Pate again.
This guy's motoring.
Where does he find the energy? Incredible.
Well, do we have one rider there in the background? That was Swain Tuff.
Looks like Tom Danielson there of Garmin coming up with 2 Rabobanks.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're orange and blue of Rabobank, but Tom Danielson has a good run of form, obviously answering a lot of his critics this year in the Tour de France with the top 10. I think many of us have been waiting for a big result for Tommy D for many years now. Former teammate of mine in his Neo-Pro year, 2002 on Mercury as Team Sky. It's Michael Barry. So a couple Canadians Van Post in the second group here. Weaning of Rabobank has been very aggressive. Swain's digging deep to stay with these guys up the Polytechnique.
Well, we talked about it this week, Gord, how Michael Barry may be that secret card, being a Canadian riding on home soil for the first time, and he can definitely make it over these climbs and be in the lead group. Swain Tough now fading a bit on La Côte de la Polytechnique, but Michael Barry is not for Team Sky.
Weaning looks really good today. He's had to look around. He's going to wait for this group to kind of come together. Michael Barry playing his own card today, thankfully, for Team Sky. They recognize that he's in some great form. Flecka was in the move before on the last lap, so Sky's really covering their bases. Gilbert is forced to weld the gap together here.
Well, we now have about 4 groups on the road. Things are starting to implode here on this climb of La Polytechnique. Pate hanging on for dear life, but now has 4 riders breathing down his neck, making their way here.
Some good separation there with that group with Michael Barry.
And they look like to be 6 almost now.
Pate did well to get up top of the Polytechnique now. If he's he has to concentrate on this descent, but once he gets down off the Polytechnique, he'll certainly be welcome to see these new riders, and he'll just sit on the back and try to milk them as far as he can.
Because at this point in time, there's no way he's going to put his time trialist talents into play here.
He's played his card. He's played his card. His legs are shot. These guys are fresh, so he's just going to try to hang on as long as possible. Again, he's got the KM prize waiting for him after this Prix Cycliste de Montreal. Again, some good separation with that Michael Barry group. Looks promising. I don't think Swain Tuft has held on over the Polytechnique. That's a shame for the Canadians.
Yes, we had 2 riders up there. And now it is all Mike Barry for the
that group of 5 really has to get organized and get rotating if they're going to maintain this advantage. It looks like a group of 4. Hopefully Swain's in that 3rd group as they come through the feed zone again pretty fast. Got to have some quick hands.
And very dangerous portion of the race as everybody's starting to get very nervous, very anxious, tired also being a factor here for the riders. And one bad catch, one bad move can send a whole group to the ground, and we hope that won't be happening here. So there we have another group rejoining on Edouard Montpetit. The pace now is just brutal for these gentlemen.
Bryce Filleux, the French rider, he's desperately hanging on the back here. He's going to take advantage of the slow up here as they go through the feed zone. But right after this feed, it's going to stretch out again. It's like an accordion effect. So they're bracing themselves for some fast pace once they get through the feed zone. Caleb Fairley there, 72. HTC rider again, Rabobank. Driving this group, there's Rojas in about 8th position.
And right here, the riders have 2 90-degree turns. This first one from Edouard Montpetit on to Vincent Dindy.
Rabobank on a few different pages because they have Weaning in the front here, and another Rabobank was driving the pace in the pack. So they got to get their tactics in line here as we go forward. The standard rider looks like Stangel.
Yeah. As Danny Pate has been gobbled up by the lead group now. After a long day of work for him, they left with about not even 20 kilometers completed in this race, and he's been picked up with the 20 to go. So you do the math, that's almost 160 kilometers off the front.
Yeah, there's Swain Tuft. That's good news for the Canadian fans.
In the lead group, but they're right here.
One Movistar.
Struggling is at number 141 for Movistar.
Yeah, that's Rui Costa. He had a good ride in the Quebec race. Obviously a stage winner in the Tour de France. We have a Radio Shack rider. We have Michael Barry. We have 2 Canadians here. Good news. We have Michael Barry and Swain Tuft. There's Weaning. Looks like Dumoulin is in this lead group as well. Oh, high pace. Not everyone's willing to work here. Obviously Danny Pate has no reason to work. But he'll probably try to get as far back in the back of the group as possible to kind of let these guys settle in. Tom Danielson looking good. Back on Soleil, they have a rider. Looks like Hoogerland. Yes. It's back together now.
Outstanding riding once again by Gilbert. And if those are not warning shots, I wonder what they are, Gord.
Incredible. Selvaggi out the back. Looks like that's Ryan Roth, 115.
215, yep, you're right.
Number 12, Omega Pharma, 66 of BMC. The Rabobanks are paying for their teamwork earlier on. That's Van Winden. In front of him is Jeff Lauder, the Salt Lake City native from BMC, moving across to United Healthcare next year.
Yeah, that'll be a reconfiguration of that team to BMC with the coming over of Gilbert, Hushov, and company.
You know, it looked like it would come all back together, but still there's some remnants of that breakaway as Tom Danielson and Weening are still driving the pace here as the breakaway has been reduced. There's about 15 riders now. It's down to about 8 or 9 riders, a couple of them between. And I'm sure the alarm bells went off in the pack with Gilbert stomping his pedals.
Well, now we got about 6 to 7 more riders now, starting to pick up the pace. And this is just going to be the scenario now for the next 19.6 kilometers as Monsieur Philippe Gilbert, the master himself, the boss, as he's probably known now in the peloton, has showed the rest of this group that I am alive. I am here. You have not seen me all day, but I am definitely part of this race. And be warned, my legs are nice and strong.
Yeah, that wasn't playing any kind of poker, that's for sure. I mean, not that anyone needed any reinforcement that he's in good shape, but just assuming, again, kind of an alpha male status on the pack.
Well, people probably had some doubts, you know, what happened after that crash? Was he really in pain? Is he really hurt, injured? And I think Philippe just telling everybody that, I may be battered a bit, but I am not bruised, so I'll be there. And if you, as I usually say, if you blink, you will miss me, and I will be gone.
Again, yeah, it looks like Hegedal in the back there.
Wow, this is going to be an amazing finale here. Yessig, is that Sanchez? Hegedal, Sanchez, Yessig. Here they go. As the Canadian flag is waving, Yessing, the riders back at the start line, finish line, watching here. This looks like a carbon copy from last year. Robert Yessing, Samuel Sanchez. Is that Fabian Wegman in that group? Fabian Wegman once again in the lead group for Leopard Trek. Ryder Hesjedal.
Playing the good teammate is Wegman. He's got a podium finish for sure here with his Dennetville in the front of this group. So again, they're past the last obstacle. I think this is the race-winning move, Randy.
Could very well be. These guys behind have at least a 7 to 10 second gap to gain here, as you'll see it here. They have to close a 7 to 10 second gap right now, and that looks like that lead may be growing at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of posturing still in the back here as we have some of the favorites eking out an advantage. That's Haysink, Sanchez, Wegman playing defense for his teammate, and Hegedal. So if these riders can get Leopard Trek's in a good position, if the three favorites kind of get together and start to chase, Wegman will profit and he can sit on the back. So Leopard Trek, you know, it wasn't really a team that we favored here, having the best cards so far.
Well, there they are. Any feel it for Leopard Trek? The second rider there in your picture, Faria da Costa, is out of the shot. And right there, having an amazing race for FDG.
Fedrigo, so Sanchez attacking again, trying to get this group going. Might be too little too late, though.
There goes Samuel Sanchez. Will Yessing, Hegedal, and Wegman follow?
They're responding, yes, but they got to get organized.
They're gonna end up with the same scenario as last year, where a few riders will squeak off the front in the final kilometers, like Yessing did in 2010. Oh la la, let's watch here.
This is where you see the importance of teammates. You know, if they had some teammates with them, they can sacrifice. But I think they're caught between the rock and the hard place because they know Gilbert punches a good sprint. So, you know, it's kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, excuse the expression.
Yeah, you're caught between a rock and a hard place, as you said. But these three riders up front are really causing a surprise here. And these 5 or 6 gentlemen behind that can't seem to get organized are losing time.
Credit to Wegman again. He's causing all this hesitation. So Leopard Trek, podium's waiting for him. Maybe an upset. I think Fedrigo's got the best wheels up there in the sprint. So Francis Desjeux, you know, a team that really wasn't favored coming into it, looking pretty good here. As Sanchez again kicks out of the corner.
Yeah, the Eusketel rider not giving up here with only 3 kilometers to go. They still have not gained any time, Gord,
And remember last year, at this point, Yessing had 5 seconds and they didn't catch him. These 3 guys in the front, I think, are going to cause an upset here in Montreal.
Again, Wegman is promoting that hesitation. That's great stuff as Van de Velde now assumes the work for Hegedal. I think it's little, it might be too little too late. I think it's stolen. I think the break is gone.
Well, a couple of people mentioned his name this week. Eric Fedrigo could be a strong contender here, an underdog. And Lord knows he has done an amazing job here today to join that final break and maybe make his way here to the finish line.
Quick Step now trying to rally the front. I wonder if they've gotten news that Chiolek has made it. Doesn't look like Chiolek's second wheel.
Oh. There we are, number 52 there, Stefan Dinnefield, the Austrian rider for Leopard Trek.
These guys are committed. They're working very well together. Nobody's shirking a pole. So Fedrigo's in pole position here. I think he's got some willing collaborators in Costa and Dinnefield.
And Gord, they've gained 1 second over the last half kilometer here, so this is not looking good for this bunch.
What was looking good for Sky for the majority of this race is kind of going pear-shaped for him as Sky is now finally taking control of the front. Must be Boston Hagen. Looks like Michael Berry might come up here and give a hand. They must be getting news that Boston Hagen is in for a shout at a place here.
Well, if for all intents and purposes here, Gord, unless there's a mishap, this will be our podium of the day. This is an amazing ride here of these 3 riders. Once again, Stefan Dinnefield. He is from Austria, riding for Leopard Trek. Second, right now, taking the lead, Rui Alberto Faria da Costa, the Portuguese rider for Movistar. And hanging off the back there, the smart veteran riding for Française des Jeux, Eric Fedrigo. And here comes the group. 1.5 kilometers to go before the end. There is the red flame, La Flamme Rouge. 1 kilometer to go for these riders. This is going to go to the line, Gord.
Well, these guys can't play games. I noticed earlier that Fedrigo had opted out of a turn, but wisely has taken the front now with 1K to go. They can't play any games. They can't play any cat and mouse. Fedrigo's got to be confident he could take these 2 riders, and he's shown that confidence by taking a very well-timed pull here with about a K to go.
Well, they're going to be coming up to this last very dangerous hairpin. 3 riders fighting it out here. Oh, it's close, Gord. It's close, but watch in the pack, because going around that last hairpin turn, these guys will go clear, but that pack behind, that's where a crash could happen very easily as riders will fight. Oh,
I think it's winnable. I think this gap is winnable.
But it is uphill. Here they come. Here they come, the pack. Gilbert on the left-hand side. I think they're going to run out of pavement.
I think so. You saw Jürgen Rollins of Omega Pharma. He's got the back wheel, Gilbert. Looks like Gilbert is leading out Rollins. Can they do it? These guys can't. They got to kick. Someone has to kick from this group if they're not going to get caught.
They are within the last few hundred meters of this race. Here they come.
Gilbert with the Rollins on the wheel. Gilbert is playing loyal teammate, of all things.
This is an amazing finish. I think they are going to run out of pavement, folks.
Oh,
here
Costa's
comes
coming.
The top group. Oh, no. Rui Costa. Fedrigo. Here comes Roland. No. Rui Alberto da Faria Costa. And look who rolls in third. Philippe Gilbert. Well, what an amazing finale to that race. Movistar just squeaking a victory out there, Gord. Oh, boy, that was oh so close. It would have been another victory for him, but here is the winner, Rui Alberto Faria da Costa from Movistar. Impressive, impressive work by the Movistar team this year. And they've been criticized many a times that they did not do the work in some of these races, but today they were the exception. An amazing performance once again by the Portuguese rider from Movistar, Rui Alberto Faria da Costa. Eric Fedrigo from La Française des Jeux, second. And in third place, well, the always astounding and amazing rider, Gilbert. But this is all about Faria da Costa today, and he is overwhelmed and overjoyed.
Bienvenue à la remise des trophées du Grand Prix Cycliste de Montréal, édition 2011.
Well, we are ready now for the podiums here today as we will celebrate quite an accomplishment by these three riders. Two for a very simple reason, is that they fended off the very aggressive attacks of the peloton, or what was left of it at the end. And one gentleman who basically has put his stamp on this 2011 season by a win 2 days ago in Quebec City, and here today, well, a third place. Confusion again today on that second spot.
Gilbert showing his astuteness around the podium, usually the top step, this time the third step.
Now he knows how it works, right? He's been there many a times. Well, a crowd favorite and definitely a man who can smile proudly today as he probably will close this season with this third place here at the Grand Prix Cycliste de Montreal. Doesn't seem to be on his way to Worlds based on the last news we've had through the wires.
Accueillons le vice-président du Conseil et directeur délégué des Jardins et Marché des Capitaux, Monsieur Richard Nadeau.
Quebec-based bank financial group, well represented as a title sponsor of these races. Philippe Gilbert, once again, a last salute to the crowd. Really appreciating his riding here. Good day of work for Philippe. I'm sure he's very satisfied. Mom and dad and family here in Quebec to watch him race over these two races in Quebec City and Montreal. And Fedrigo, well, nothing but acclaim for this young man. Beautiful race by his team today after losing their local teammate, Dominique Rollin, early in the race. And we had seen him last year. Remember, Gord, towards the end of the race, he climbed with a little group, tried to stay attached at the end of last year's race, wasn't able to do it. This year, however, he did.
He did everything right. He just got beat by a guy that was had better legs at the end. And what can you say about Rui Costa? You know, an opportunist who took advantage of all the race tactics and the indecision in the back and scores one of his very best victories. I was able to get that Portuguese or Spanish that he had in the interview.
There he is, Rui Alberto Faria da Costa for Movistar. And definitely satisfied with his result today. Gilbert looking at him saying, that a boy?
I can't believe he's looking down at a guy like Gilbert, but a great victory here for the team Movistar, the Spanish squad. Fedrigo, nothing to be ashamed about for second place. Did everything he could to win, and Gilbert might be some thoughts on their tactics, but fine third place.
The Mayor of Montreal, Mr. Gérald Tremblay, presenting Monsieur Faria da Costa with his trophy of the day and congratulating the other podium members. There it is, the podium of the second edition of Le Grand Prix Cycliste de Montréal. Beautiful race today by these gentlemen. Well-deserved honors here today.